I purposefully ruined my cousin and ex's wedding and it's brought me a lot of happiness. I once looked up to my cousin. I thought he was a great guy, and we were close like brothers. I was also dating a girl, I was deeply in love with her and planned to marry her someday. I thought my life was perfect. One day I came home early because a colleague offered to cover my shift. I was pretty tired so I accepted and went home. Arriving home, I found them in my bed, having sex. Both of them were shocked to say the least. I told them I wanted them to be gone by the time I got back and left the house. They were gone by the time I did get back, but she left me a note telling me she was sorry and to call her when I'd calmed down. I didn't call her. I texted her saying that I'd gather her things and drop them off at cousin's in a few days and that she's staying with him now, not me. I followed through with that. It took about a week to transfer everything. Both of them tried to apologize but I didn't have anything nice to say to them, so I said nothing. I just knocked the door and handed the bags to whoever answered before leaving. My cousin called me multiple times to try to apologize, but I refused to accept it. 3 years have passed since then. I went no contact with them. I didn't bring it up to the rest of my family or any of their friends, I'm not sure why. I just didn't. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I answered. It was my cousin. He sounded really happy and was acting like he hadn't destroyed my life. He explained he and my ex were getting married and he wanted me to be his best man. I was so angry that he had the utter gall to act like nothing was wrong and lost my temper. I yelled at him and called him names before hanging up. He sent me a text telling me the offer still stood and if I didn't want to be his best man then he just simply wouldn't have one. A few days passed by and I had an idea. I texted him back and apologized. I said a paragraph of bullshit saying I was still angry but this could be an opportunity for the three of us to heal and move past it. He was overjoyed and said he'd pay for everything and he'd help me pick out a suit if I wanted, which I accepted because I sure as shit wasn't going to spend any money on his stupid wedding if I could help it. I am 18, just found out that my father M42 baby trapped my mother F40 with me. Months passed and he was not doing anything. Then she got a job offer in another country. She told my father that he could take over her apartment or come with her. They had this huge fight where my mother told him that she was not ready for the type of commitment he wanted. She wanted different things in life than him and that as much as she loved him, that they weren't compatible. They stayed living together and then one day she found out she was pregnant. She told me honestly, that she was thinking of not having me. She did not feel ready to be a mom at 22. She did not feel maternal feelings. She said she was already struggling with depression and late-diagnosed ADHD. My father convinced her to have me. He said he would take me because he had a right to me. That he would go after her because that baby was also his. So she had me. She said that the time after birth was really bad. My father was dragging out the legal procedures, he refused to vacate the home. My mother said that while she felt love for me and that there were moments when she felt overjoyed, it was overshadowed by huge waves of suicidal ideation. She was scared that she was gonna hurt me. She also showed me some of the court documents of that time that backed up her claims. In the end, she was so desperate that she agreed to stay with my father if he agreed to be the main caretaker. He did, but only half-assed. My mother then told me that it got so bad, that she tried to commit suicide around my second birthday after a particularly nasty fight where my father admitted to having tampered with her birth control. She showed me the papers of the involuntary 72 hours commitment and the legal documents where she was found unfit to be a parent afterward. I felt nauseous after all that. I would have not believed her, hadn't she brought so much evidence with her. She then asked me what I meant in my message that we were struggling. I told her that we were not exactly rich and that I was struggling to come up with the money to go to university in another city. She was bewildered and asked me what my father had been doing with the monthly payments she was making. I told her that we don't receive that money. Then she took out another stack of papers. Guys, she is sending child support every month. It is almost $3,000 every month. Every time I check out of a hotel I set the alarm clock to go off full blast at 3:30 a.m. Nobody uses hotel alarm clocks anymore so they'll never notice that it's set. I figure 3:30 is the perfect time that even if you've been out partying or getting up early for a flight, you're probably dead asleep. What's the creepiest, scariest thing you've seen but no one believes you? I used to have a buddy that lived in the same neighborhood, a few streets over. One night we were having a couple of beers in his backyard while playing cards. I had some things to do the next morning, so just before 10 I said my goodbyes and shoved off. It was a short walk, maybe 15 minutes door to door, so I never drove. Anyway, it was a nice night. Uneventful trip. But when I got home, my roommate was coming out the front door, coffee in hand, and dressed for work. He gave me a funny look and said he thought I was asleep since my truck was in the driveway. I told him where I'd been and asked why he was going into work at night. That's when he kind of laughed and asked if I was drunk. We stared at each other for a minute and then he told me it was just after 5 in the morning and he was going in just like he usually did. In my entire life, I'd never felt more confused than I did in that moment. I could tell he was dead serious, but I knew I had just left my friend's house. I checked my phone and sure enough, 5-something in the AM. My roommate left for work. I paced circles in the living room for a bit then called the friend whose house I'd just left. He groggily answered and confirmed I'd left at 10 the previous evening. I have no idea what happened during those 7 hours of my life and it gives me chills to think about it all these years later. I wasn't drunk, I wasn't tired, no one could have slipped anything in either of the 2 Coors Lights I'd had, no known medical conditions that would have caused me to black out. And nothing has happened like it since. I just don't know what happened to that time. What made you straight up nope out of a relationship? Met a girl on Tinder, we went for a coffee date, shared some of the same music tastes. She lets me know that one of them is playing at a local club on Friday. I suggest we go together and do dinner before Friday comes. We do a late sushi dinner and head to this club around 10 for the show. Headliner, who we wanted to see, went on around midnight. Get to the club, finally get to the bar and order drinks, then head to the dance floor. She pounds the drink and says she is getting another drink. She comes back few minutes later with a new drink, gives me a kiss on the cheek and wanders off on the dance floor. I am not someone who is overly possessive and figure my wanting to be in the back to get a full visual and auditory experience is not her jam. All good. 20 minutes later I see her grinding on some dude. Now mentally, I am already back at my car but I want to see what happens when she makes eye contact with me. They start making out and the guy notices me eyeballing them. She wanders off to get another drink and he comes up to me asking if I have a problem. I explain the situation and he says something to the extent of "Sucks bro, she is with me now. F off." Took his advice and did. Called up a friend and went to his house and played Catan till 2ish. Then my phone rings. It's 2:30 AM and she is calling me asking where I went. My car was missing from the parking lot. I told her I went home and she was on her own to find a ride. I bet that guy you were making out with could give you a ride, to which she responded with which one. We kissed once, made out 0 times. I laughed, hung up, and rolled for more bricks. What's the best joke you know? This is a really dumb one but I love it. 2 men are sitting drinking at a bar at the top of the Empire State Building, when the first man turns to the other and says, "You know, last week I discovered that if you jump from the top of this building, the winds around the building are so intense that by the time you fall to the 10th floor, they carry you around the building and back into a window." The bartender just shakes his head in disapproval while wiping the bar. The second guy says, "What, are you nuts? There's no way that could happen." "No, it's true," the first man says. "Let me prove it to you." He gets up from the bar, jumps over the balcony, and plummets toward the street below. As he nears the 10th floor, the high winds whip him around the building and back into the 10th floor window and he takes the elevator back up to the bar. He meets the second man, who looks quite astonished. "You know, I saw that with my own eyes, but that must have been a one-time fluke." "No, I'll prove it again," says the first man as he jumps again. Just as he is hurtling toward the street, the 10th floor wind gently carries him around the building and into the window. Once upstairs he urges his fellow drinker to try it. "Well, why not?" The second guy says. "It works. I'll try it." He jumps over the balcony, plunges downward, passes the 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th floors, and hits the sidewalk with his plat. Back upstairs the bartender turns to the other drinker and says, "You know, Superman, you're a real jerk when you're drunk." What's a cool fun fact that you know? There was no electricity in Ethiopia until the king ordered 3 electric chairs and realized he couldn't plug it in anywhere. Van Gogh unalived himself 1 year after Nintendo was founded. You can fit the entire population of the human race inside the Grand Canyon. Not just the 7 billion alive now, the entire lot, from the very start. And still have plenty of room for those who are yet to be born. If every person on Earth fought 1v1 until there was only one winner, that person would only have to win 33 times. When they first measured the height of Mount Everest it was exactly 29.000 feet, but as that sounds like a made-up number they declared it to be 29.002 feet. KFC's Twitter profile follows exactly 11 accounts, 6 random people named Urban, the 5 members of the British pop band Spice Girls. One of the Zimbabwe's president's name was Banana. A blue whale has a heart the same size as a small car. What's the creepiest thing that's ever happened to you? I was Danish, having a sleepover at my house with a friend. We played games, watched a movie, ate junk food, stayed up late, the works. Eventually we get tired and go to sleep in my room. We both fall asleep but a few hours later she wakes me up because she needs to go to the bathroom. I am super confused because she knew where the bathroom was. We had been friends since kindergarten and it was literally a door over from my room. She insisted, so I got up and took her to the bathroom. She said she wasn't feeling great. She was never the one to ever get uncomfortable, so I asked her what was wrong, but she said she just felt like she couldn't sleep in my room that night. I told her we staying up later wouldn't help her feel any better, thanks mom, and we agreed to go to bed. Bathroom door open, I turn out the lights, pitch black. We start walking back to my room and she follows behind holding my hand. We were kids guys, and suddenly I start feeling uneasy. When I say it was a door over I mean maybe a whole 10 adult paces or so. Again not that far, but in the span of a couple seconds I went from feeling fine to feeling sharp prickles on the back of my neck and a bad feeling in my gut. We get to my room door and in the darkness I see the outline of a tall figure shifting, and a gentle squeaking sound. I felt cold and hollow and I knew it was looking at me, because when I looked in its direction the squeaking stopped for a second. My friend was clenching my hand and not breathing and I told myself what all adults tell themselves because I wanted to be brave for my friend. It's nothing. I reached out a hand and flipped the light switch to turn on the overhead light, and there stood a 6-foot-tall man, frozen, staring back at me with his hands in the air, one holding the glass orb diffuser that goes over the light bulb, the other on the light bulb. And he turned his hand a little and unscrewed the light bulb. It went pitch black. I flinched and waited to be killed or hit out of the way, but we heard nothing. Nothing moved, or squeaked or rustled. I flipped the light switch off, then on again. My room lit up and everything was normal. No person. No overhead light taken apart. Nothing. We searched my room for him, which did not take long to no avail. I was on the second floor, the shades were still drawn, windows locked, screen in the window. We checked downstairs and the locks, but they had been locked after dinner by my parents and we hadn't touched them. I asked if she saw him, despite knowing we were both looking for him. She said yes. It was nice to know that it wasn't just me that saw it. But I've never had an explanation for that. Teachers of Reddit, what is the most disturbing thing your student has ever done? At the first school that I taught at, I had a girl come up to me one day and say, "Robert has a knife." I pulled Robert into the hallway to talk with him about it. He said that he didn't have a knife, but did have a box cutter. I asked him why he had it and he said, "Because I'm tired of Chris." Chris was an annoying suck-up but wasn't really bad or mean to other kids. I asked Robert what he was planning on doing to Chris. He said, "I am going to get him in the bathroom." I usually took the class to the restroom after lunch, but I didn't that day because they were being rowdy in the hallway. I took Robert to the office and after hearing the story the principal chewed him out. She then called Robert's mom, and she chewed him out on the phone. Here's the kicker. Robert knew that he was in serious trouble. He knew that what he was planning was wrong. He just didn't care. Not in a false bravado macho type was. He literally didn't care. I hate to predict a kid's future criminal endeavors, but that kid scares me. By the way, Robert was 8 years old at the time.
What is the worst thing you have done because you got confused between items in different hands? Friend of mine once put the remote control in the oven and then wondered why he found himself in the living room holding a sausage. Remote control was destroyed, and it had previously spent several days in the back of a freezer because of a similar incident. Licked the lid of my yogurt, then threw the full yogurt pot in the bin with the spoon inside. Stuck a dog treat in my mouth, and gave my dog my popsicle. She was thrilled. When I was 10, I was watching TV and had the remote in one hand and a cup of hot tea in the other. My dad came in and asked for the remote. Instead of tossing him the remote, I threw my cup of tea and it went all over him. The next morning his chest and legs were red. Tried to put an M&M in my ear and my Galaxy Bud in my mouth.
What sounds like fiction but is actually a real historical event. Probably the time the US government hooked listening equipment to a cat so it could spy on Russians, only to realize that cats don't follow commands, and then it got hit by a car. In 1971, a teenage girl named Julianne Kopke was on a plane that was struck by lightning and disintegrated in the air. She plummeted 3,000 meters strapped to her seat, and landed in the Amazon rainforest. Her mom had been on the flight with her, and Julianne searched in vain for her mom. But Julianne was the sole survivor of the crash. She survived 11 days alone, treating her maggot-infested wounds with fuel and using tracking techniques her father had taught her. Before she found a boat that she used to make her way back to civilization. What an absolute legend. An English king named Ethelred, later called the Unready, took some troops to defend against a Viking invasion. The weather was bad, so a lot of the Vikings' ships crashed as they were landing. Ethelred thought that it would be dishonorable to attack them as they were stumbling onto shore. So he kept his troops back until the Vikings had a chance to get together and form proper battle lines before he attacked them. The better prepared Vikings then won the fight and slaughtered a bunch of Ethelred's men, and he and the rest were forced to run away while the Vikings went around pillaging. I slapped a child in the face and then shoved him off his scooter. I'm 25. So I have a beloved kitty named Pixie. She was around 4 when I found her on the street. She had a rubber band tightened on half her tail. I spent 2 weeks feeding her until she was comfortable enough to let me near her. She didn't trust anyone. I took her in, cleaned her up, and got the dead portion of her tail amputated. After 5 years, she finally warmed up to people and she became so sweet and friendly. It took her years to be comfortable around strangers. Last month, she was out for her daily stroll around the neighborhood and immediately came back in through the kitty door 20 minutes later. Usually she is out and about for 2 to 3 hours. She had 2 small holes in her chest, and 1 near her butt. She was completely frightened and was crying, meowing. She wouldn't even let me go near her for the first 5 minutes. I knew for certain that she was shot with metal BBs. I take her in my car and start driving to the vet, but took a quick detour around the neighborhood. I was going to take the long way to see if I could find the culprit. Sure enough, I see a kid on a scooter standing on his driveway, with a CO2-powered BB gun, aiming in the drainage cavity by the sidewalk. I see cats in there all the time. It was then I knew who the culprit was. I parked the car, got out, walked over to him and said, "I'm telling your parents that you are shooting cats." He replied, "They are pests. They told me I could." The smug little look on his face threw me over the edge. I slapped the f*** out of this bitch and kick-sweeped his legs out from under him and watched him fall flat on his ass. I then picked up his gun and smashed it on the ground. A small part of me wanted to finish him off with a stomach kick for good measure, but I'm f***ing 25, so I looked both ways before crossing the street, and f***ing bolted. As I hopped in my car and sped away, I heard him shrieking in the distance. My kitty was treated, and is doing okay. She is a lot more skittish and spends less time outside. Teachers of Reddit, what is the most disturbing thing your student has ever done? I teach 4-year-olds part-time, which means I usually do art and recreation in the afternoons. There's this girl in my class, let's call her Mary, who is a tiny terror that frequently runs around making other kids cry. Her moves are very calculated: a hair pull, kicking a toy over, snatching art. She waits until the other child is crying before she relents. She never wants the toy, just the reaction. On the other hand, this boy, Jim, is her polar opposite and often the voice of reason in my class. He's a gentle giant, the biggest kid in preschool. He shares happily, is kind during playtime, and is probably the most thoughtful human I've ever met. Well, one day during outside time, Mary kept targeting Jim. He was pretty good-natured the whole time. She would snatch a shovel from him and he would respond kindly by saying, "It's okay, you can have it, toys are for sharing," stuff like that. Sidebar, remember those giant red and yellow cars that kids sit in and pedal with their feet? The yard has 5 for the kids to share. Mary was leaning against a wall, and Jim pushing one of those cars. The kids like running around with them, so that was normal. Jim was probably a good 30 feet away from her when he suddenly started accelerating. He was aimed like a homing missile, pointing straight at poor clueless Mary. Genuinely believed she would turn away at the last minute or stop. I was wrong. He slammed the car right into Mary, effectively crunching her against the wall. I'll never forget how long it took for her to inhale. I was shaking, I thought he cracked her ribs. Her entire back was bruised, but thankfully no further damage. I was too shocked to be angry. After passing Mary to my co-teacher, I turned to Jim, who was sulking in the corner, and asked, "Why did you do that?" He just shrugged and very calmly said, "I was just trying to take care of our problem." 100% scared of this kid now.
Bro. Who is this? This is Kayla's boyfriend. Oh, what's up? Listen, I'ma just keep it real with you. I know she's been cheating on me with you and you're her side man and all, and you know what? I'm fine that, cause if she's happy then I'm happy. Thing is, I'm messing with someone else too, so I was gonna ask if you can chill with her on Sunday so I can take my other girl out. Shoot man, that's a bet, don't even worry. What time? I see you're a chubby man. Yeah, lol, a little. Hit the gym. Men should be in shape. So I'll see you there? Are you calling me fat? You shouldn't comment on a woman's weight. I'm not fat, I'm curvy. I'm going to report you. You're going down. The bigger they are the harder they fall, I guess. Would you go out with someone who uses Cricket Wireless? What? Damn, talk about a red flag. If it's a deal breaker, I understand. You might be the first person I've ever seen who uses Cricket. Like, how does that even happen? Bribery. They offered a t-shirt and Panera gift card. Okay, I understand now. Was gonna mention that I haven't used it yet. Well, we better go spend it then. Motherfather. What? Are you serious right now? We broke up over a year ago. Why did I just find out you still play chess on Messenger with my dad? Stop. Might have lost the queen, but that doesn't mean I have to lose the king. Hey man, you still have the MacBook Pro? Yeah. What's the lowest you'll take? Lowest I'll go is $700. $200? Sure, why not? Okay, where do you want to meet? 101 Main in Burlington in about 10 minutes? Sounds good. Hey, I'm here. Cool, head inside. Into the comedy club? Yeah, then head up on the stage and tell your jokes to somebody else. I am excited. How tall are you, BTW? If you don't mind me asking. I am as well. It'll be a good time. No problem at all. I am 6 foot. How tall are you? I'm 5 feet 0 inches. Ha ha ha. That's good, I like taller guys. I'm not really into short guys, so just making sure. So where were you thinking of going for dinner? That seems kind of shallow, no? But who am I to judge, because I'm not really into short girls and like taller girls. I think it's best that we don't go out to dinner anymore. Best of luck on your tall guy search. Are you freaking kidding me? Hello? Who is this? I'm looking for an Alex who just turned 18. Can I assume that is you? Sure, but again, who is this? This is Sergeant Bales with the US Marines. How are you this evening? Sergeant Balls lol. I know you probably never want to speak to me again, but I'm so sorry, and I would do anything to make things up to you. Lol, yeah, you're right, I don't. I really would do anything, name it. Anything? Okay, get my initials tatted on you. Bet I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, prove it. Oh shoot, you actually did it. I hope you told them to go light, because I really don't mess with you anymore. I didn't think you'd actually do it. So you're telling me. I read the first sentence and got bored. Today's 5th grade unnecessary morning conversation. Student A, when I die and go to heaven, I hope I get my wings the first day. Student B, what kind you getting? I hope they got lemon pepper. In high school our gym teacher asked us who we thought the smartest teacher in the school was. We guessed the AP Chem teacher, the pre-calc teacher, the AP Physics teacher, etc. He goes, nope, it's me. Because I get paid the same as those guys and I played dodgeball all day. Were you just flirting with my girl? What? In post lobby. I said GG Lux and then left. What? You know that's my girl, right bro? No man, I didn't even know she was a girl. Are you okay? You're messing with the wrong guy, man. When Dante gets angry, bad things happen. Unsheathed sword. What is wrong with you, man? What? Take this, worm. Mio sen no shinjitsu no ha. Never talk to my girl again, alright? Did someone break your heart? No, why? Like, you literally shaved your head, deleted Twitter, blanked out your social medias, started hitting the gym. Is everything okay? Holy crap, these are all hilarious reasons. Let me give reasons for all of them. Shaved my head because I watched Breaking Bad. James, we had a great conversation on Hinge, and now another week of chatting via text. Are you ever going to ask me out on a real date? Well, I suppose if you felt this was date worthy you could have asked me at any point, no? Well, technically yeah lol. But a man is supposed to ask, plus whoever asks has to pay the bill. So I'm expected to pay? Just clarifying here. Yeah, no duh bro, I'm not going to cover my own food for a stranger. Like what if I don't like your vibe in person, then I'm out a night and the cost of a meal? What if I don't like your vibe? I promise sweetie you'll kill for my vibe. I can't stand it already. Hey, are you still selling the iPad? Yes. Sell for $100? Sell a brand new, never opened $400 iPad for $100? No. Come on. If you're selling it, it must be broke, so it can't be worth more than $100. I already told my kid he could have it. Well, go ahead and untell your kid cause he ain't getting it. Why are you video calling me? I want you to tell my kid to his face that he won't be getting any presents this year because you're...
Update, my boyfriend cheated on me with his girl best friend. I went home when I was supposed to be home and she was gone by the time I got there and he was working. I just went and laid in our guest bedroom for a while because I don't want to sit on our couch ever again. I contemplated telling my family, but they're all in Canada still and there isn't much they can do from there. My brother does have a friend Casey that lives about an hour away. I called him and explained the situation, asked him not to say anything to my family and essentially asked if he'd come and help me figure things out. He argued with me on telling my brother but finally agreed and said he'd be coming out this morning after I spoke with Casey. I then sat in the bathtub for a while and cried. Connor asked me what was wrong and I truthfully didn't want him to know that I knew, at least not until I knew I was safe. I've read horror stories on here. I just brushed off the questions or blamed it on morning sickness and not feeling good. Connor said he was going to do his morning jog then work out, and shortly after he left, Casey arrived. He helped me pack anything important including my dog. His sister Jenna was apparently in town visiting and she was a big help too. I left most of my life behind in that house, but that's okay. Jenna said we could go shopping for new stuff. I really only needed what I could fit into the 2 suitcases I owned. It only took an hour to do that, so we sat and waited for Connor. I broke down a couple times and by 8 a.m. Jenna just told me, you don't have to confront him, so I just decided I wouldn't. I left a note on the counter and left. We passed him as we were leaving the neighborhood, so yeah, I'm with Casey and his sister for now, hiding out. I'm going to call his and my parents tomorrow and Jenna said she'd go with me to figure out my options. Casey still thinks I should tell my family and that I shouldn't be embarrassed, but I don't want to do that until I have everything resolved here, which should be tomorrow. My boyfriend cheated on me with his girl best friend. My soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, Connor, 23 male, and I, 23 female, have been together since we were 16. Our parents played an online game together and over time they became friends, causing us to be friends. He's from the United States, Tennessee, and his family even invited us over for holidays and whatnot. He played hockey. I figure skated, so when he wanted to be more into the hockey, he asked his family about living with us during the school year. For context, his family is wealthy, and in my opinion don't pay attention to their kids. They allowed it, and because of us constantly being around each other, we started dating. He ended up getting an awesome scholarship for hockey and I followed him throughout everything. We had a great relationship. We talked a lot but had time apart due to our sports. We communicated well, had similar interests and tried our best to fulfill each other's love languages. The lovemaking was also great. Our life plans were the same. We both loved to travel. We just had so much in common. After university, we moved to Massachusetts, and I recently found out I was pregnant and he was overjoyed. I'm scared. I was on birth control, and I didn't want kids until I was more established in my field, but everything will work out, is what he told me. I teach skating classes at my local rink and just had bad morning sickness, so I decided to come home early. He works from home, so I stopped to get some medicine and ice cream for the two of us before getting there. When I was about to walk in, I noticed from the window his girl best friend was on the couch, exposed, bouncing on top of him. Well, I didn't directly see him, but I saw his tattoo on his arm from gripping her side, so isn't that the same as seeing him? I just turned around and left. I don't think they even noticed me, and if they did, they surely didn't care. I'm numb. I feel like I shouldn't be numb, but I am. I want to scream, but I cannot find the energy to scream. I want to cry, but I feel like I'm suddenly out of tears. My heart is completely split in half, and I just want all the thoughts in my head to go away. Why me? Why her? Why would he do this? Were there signs that I missed? How long has it been going on? What if I have an STI that's harming our baby? Has he cheated on me with others? What will this do to our families? How the F will I say anything? I was going to marry this man. I was going to have this baby with him. I was going to start a family I wasn't ready for because I loved him so much. I thought he loved me equally and unconditionally. I wish I could do something petty to him, but there's a part of me that just wants to forget what I saw and move on. But I can't. I have too much self-respect for that. I want nothing to do with him, and now I'm stuck for the next 18 years. I messed up. I really messed up. I got a text from husband by mistake that he was supposed to send to his affair partner. I have been doing an online college for 3 years. Now the last 6 months is an internship where I had to relocate to the capital that is 5-hour train ride from where my husband and I live with our 2-year-old. I can only afford going home 2 weekends a month. We're saving to buy a house once I'm finished with my studies and landed a decent job. Yesterday I got a very suspicious text that said, "No sleepover, early day tomorrow, what the F?" I logged in my husband's iCloud. He has been sleeping with a friend of ours, and the reason is that I'm not home to take care of his needs. He tells this friend over and over again that this is just lovemaking, just as long as I'm not in town, and that he loves me and isn't interested in her emotionally. She's a temporary solution. I mean, I get it. D's probably fall off if they don't get wet, so I fully understand you, husband. I sent him the screenshots of my findings, and believe it or not, I also have needs, but instead of sneaking around behind his back with a mutual friend, I introduced him to my temporary solution. I'm contemplating forwarding the screenshots to the woman and her husband too. I think we'll need to be on the same page. It's just fair, isn't it? Update: I saw my husband and my sister naked in my kitchen. I didn't think I needed to explicitly say this, but by exposed I meant they were completely exposed and effing in the kitchen. I admit mentioning that I paid for the kitchen was odd and kind of funny, but anyone that knows me knows that the kitchen is my pride and joy. So yes, when I saw my sister and husband effing in my kitchen, it stuck with me, and yes, they did see me. When I got to the hotel, I cried for a few hours, and then I just wanted to tell someone, anyone. The 2 people I would talk to when something happened in my life were the 2 I needed to talk about, and it was 11-something in the evening, so I wasn't going to disrupt my friends' evenings and burden them. So instead I came to Reddit thinking not many would see it. The response I received was overwhelming. I want to say thank you to everyone that sent me kind words and advice. Thank you so much for all the virtual hugs. I know I only commented once. It's because I had so much to think about and do. I appreciate all the love and support. There was so much amazing advice given in the comments. Although a lot of it was American-based, I still appreciate it, but one thing I did see a lot was to unblock them and keep the texts and calls as evidence, so I did do that. After posting in another good cry and knew that I had to get my shite together, I didn't have my sister or any family to help, so I had to do it myself. I started researching what my next steps were. In the morning, my friend called me saying my sister contacted her wondering if I had been in contact with her. I told her what happened, and she very kindly offered her spare room and her day off work to help me sort stuff out. I called in sick at my job and my friend helped get things done. I got in contact with my friend who works at a bank and she helped me start sorting my financials. My friend also found me a lawyer to consult with. After my phone consultation with the lawyer, I was so overwhelmed. I now know why so many women don't divorce their cheating husbands. It's such a lengthy, expensive, and emotionally draining process. I, fortunately, make a stable income and can support myself, and we, fortunately, don't have kids. I have to remember that things aren't going to happen in one day. It will all take time. As for the house, unfortunately, his parents did buy it for us, and to be honest, after what I saw, I don't want it. I will try to get reimbursed for my beloved kitchen. Otherwise, it can burn for all I care. This has been super draining, but I knew I had to talk to them. I already knew there was no coming back for my husband, and when I checked his messages, they were exactly what I thought they would say. I'm sorry. It's not what it looks like. We didn't mean for it to happen. Please come home. I love you. Blah blah blah. Just absolute bullshit. A small part of me thought maybe I could find it in me to forgive my sister, as we only have each other. But after I opened her messages, all hope was lost. She used the same excuses we heard our father use when he cheated on our mother and beat us. She said the same things our mother would say when she would excuse our dad's behavior and also beat us. I spoke to her this morning and asked her to tell me straight up who, what, where, when, and why. She told me back in July when I went on a girls' trip she was at our house and joked to my husband that I would cheat on him on the girls' trip because that's what always happens. He said no, and they joked about it, but she said he could get even with me, and they ended up doing it once. One time lead to 2 to 3, then to whenever they could do it. There was never any evidence or signs or anything that I was going to or even thinking of cheating. I told her we were done and then there's nothing she could do to bring us back together. I later received a call from an unknown number. It was my mother, who I haven't spoken to in 7 years. Turns out my sister has been in contact with her and told her what had happened, and my piece of shite mother, the same woman who beat me for breathing wrong, had the audacity to say this is what I get for taking her daughters away from her. It hurts so much. I know things are going to get messier and this is going to be a long few years. I've now lost all my blood relations. I need to get all my shite and find a new place. I want to show them that I can and I will thrive without them. Again, thank you all from the bottom of my heart for all the love and advice. All the people in the comments that could relate to me. I'm so sorry. I, 20 female, walked in on my boyfriend, 22 male, cheating on me with a longtime friend. My boyfriend, who I'll call K, and I had been dating for 4 years. After high school, he asked me to move in with him in a different state. I agreed so that we could be together while we attended college. Over the years, we made amazing friends here, and he was just as kind to me as when we first started dating. Cute, awkward text messages, surprise gifts, and flowers at least once every 2 weeks. We had a date night every Thursday after work as well. He also told me he loved at least once a day. Well, last week I got out of work early. I was in a good mood because Kay had sent flowers to my workplace and ordered me Chinese for lunch, because I had mentioned that I had a taste for it the night before. On my way home from work, I picked up some of his favorite donuts and went home. When I walked in the door, I could immediately hear the noises of love making. I walked to our bedroom to see that our friend Ellie was on top of him. My heart dropped. They'd known each other for 10 years, but they were never close, or so I thought. They didn't notice me until I dropped the donuts. They quickly covered themselves up, and Kay got up to try and explain the situation to me, but I wasn't hearing any of it. I packed a bag and left to my friend's house. I spent a week at my friend's house wondering if I wasn't satisfying him enough and what I did wrong. Both Kay and Ellie bombarded me with messages trying to explain themselves. Kay told me that it just happened. He said this really was the first time and it wasn't planned at all, that I should know this isn't the real him. He explained that she came over and that one thing just led to another and it was a mistake he'd do anything to fix. He sent me pictures of an engagement ring as well. Ellie messaged me as well, saying how she never meant to hurt me and that it wasn't supposed to be this way. I decided to call my friend Ian and explain the situation to him. I asked him if he'd be willing to come with me and help me to grab my things while Kay was at work in the morning. I explained the situation to my friends and family and they all agree that leaving is the best option. I will be taking all of my things and flying back home. My parents have sent me the money for a ticket and I'll be moving back in with them for the time being. I don't plan on telling Kay anything. He will just come home to a partially empty apartment.
My 20 female, girlfriend's gay friend, 20 female, crossed the line tonight. I'm so upset right now. I'm a 20 male, dating my girlfriend. We've been dating for 2 years now. Tonight was my girlfriend's friend's birthday and we all went out to celebrate. I didn't feel well, so I stayed back half the night at my girlfriend's apartment. My girlfriend and her friends all live together, including this gay friend. My girlfriend came home and laid in bed with me. I went to grab some water, so I left our door open. Her gay friend came home, ran upstairs and started cuddling my girlfriend. They are friends, but it was the things she was saying that made me uncomfortable. You're so pretty, come in my bed, let's cuddle. Or, who do you think cuddles your girlfriend when you're not around? Referring to me. This made me so upset. I trust my girlfriend, but one thing I know about drinking is that the truth comes out when you're drunk. What if my girlfriend isn't telling me the truth? I trust her, but that was a very questionable thing to say. I'm hurt. I'm sleeping on the couch tonight because my girlfriend and I got into a fight. She says she's kidding but doesn't understand that it's inappropriate and it made me uncomfortable.
I broke up with my girlfriend because they're trans. I was going to post this on Am I the A-hole, but I guess already know I'm the A-hole here. I, female 19, am a lesbian. I had been dating my girlfriend who identified as non-binary, she and they, and I was, of course, okay with it. I loved them more than anything. It was a wonderful relationship. Growing up, I've had a lot of gender struggles myself. At this point, I guess I identify as cis, because I don't even know what I am and I don't want to disgrace the trans community by labeling myself as anything. So I guess in a way I do understand the concept of being a gender other than cis, and I supported my girlfriend, who was okay with being called such, even being non-binary, and their gender identity was no issue with me at all. Recently my girlfriend came to me and told me they had a new set of pronouns. I asked what, and they said he and him. I was confused. I thought they were coming out as female to male, but he clarified he wasn't a man, but a he and him lesbian. I've heard of he and him lesbians on the internet, but I never really understood it myself. I know pronouns don't equal gender, but it felt weird to me, and I just couldn't be with him anymore. I still love him. I tried to explain how I saw it feeling wrong to me as a lesbian dating him, but he called me transphobic. Is he right? I don't even know anymore, but I don't know how to not be in the wrong. I feel like I've betrayed my own community by not being able to
But I'm finding it incredibly hard to live with what I have done.
Update: my husband would choose his girl best friend over me any day. Hello everyone. I would first like to say that not everyone's life is easy and not everyone can get just up and leave whenever. Gaslighting, manipulation, and emotional attachments also exist. Sure, some of you wouldn't stand for it and the disrespect, but I did. I made a mistake and I'm owning up to it. I really don't understand what's the point of bashing me like you know the situation. I did come here to rant and I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. But anyways, I'd firstly like to state that I grew up in the foster care system. My life wasn't the best. When I met my husband, I was overwhelmed and overjoyed at the fact that someone wanted me and liked me. When things started to progress with us, I ignored all his mistakes because I thought he would be the only person who would have accepted me. I know that it's not an excuse, but I honestly didn't have a backbone and my self-respect intact either. I was a pushover. It's also the fact that I wasn't in a great place financially and I was just so done with it. Some of you ask why I didn't set boundaries with him and Sasha. It's because they are inseparable and I was afraid he would leave me for her. I didn't want to be alone again. I wanted to be happy, you know. Some of you people think that I did it because I was desperate. Genuinely speaking, I was so very desperate because I didn't want to lose him. I took it all because I was afraid to live my childhood all over again. I didn't plan coming here and giving my life story, but here I am. Now the most important part that everyone has been waiting for. My husband called me as soon as he got back. I ignored his calls since I had to leave for work. I'm pretty sure he called 100 times demanding to know where I was. After work I went straight to his home. I walked in and behold Sasha sitting on the kitchen counter chatting to my husband, smiling and laughing. At that moment I wanted to scream and cry. I hated it. My husband saw me and came up to me asking me where the heck I was. I told him we needed to talk and took him upstairs. He asked what was up. The audacity he had. I genuinely had enough, so I told him I wanted a divorce because he went on a road trip with another woman on our anniversary. I cried and screamed till I couldn't anymore, and all he did was effing stand there looking at me. I was so frustrated I asked him if he had anything to say, and all he said was that I shouldn't have yelled like that because Sasha was here and she would be offended if I thought that I couldn't trust her. My last effing straw. I left, and the next time I see him it's with divorce papers. I'm not going to cry any longer because I deserve better. I'm currently looking for divorce lawyers, and will be starting the process as soon as I can. The audacity of that man after all I've done for him. It's clear that he chose Sasha because even though she wasn't in the same room as us, he thought of her and her feelings. I broke down in front of him and he thought of her. Update: I hate my best friend, but I'm going to be her bridesmaid. It's been a while since I made the post, so I thought I would update you, as Sophie now knows I don't like her. I went to a dinner with me, her sister, and another girl I don't know, Allison. The dinner was fine. I didn't really say much because I have been really stressed with work and moving. I've been flying in and out of the state trying to sort things out, and my dogs are staying at my mom's house, but one of them just got sick. Basically, I am dealing with enough. At the dinner, Sophie brings up me and my ex and how I brought them together, and I smiled at first and laughed it off because I didn't want to make a big deal out of anything. Allison said in passing she finds it weird that I haven't dated anyone since. I again didn't say anything because I am not hung up on him. I'm just not interested in anyone. I have my own busy life, and the thought of coming home from work after spending all day pleasing clients and worrying about another person makes me feel drained. Sophie made a joke about how I'm secretly in love with her fiancé and I'm going to ruin the wedding, and everyone laughs. I just said I won't go. It was like all emotions just turned off and I couldn't even be angry. I didn't care how any of them felt anymore. I said I'm not going and I am moving so she won't see me anymore. I told her how awful she was and then left. After that I got flooded with calls and texts from her asking me what was wrong with me, but I just don't care. I went to work and told them I'm taking my leave, which I was going to get paid out, and now I'm not working. I'm staying with my aunt in the state I'm moving to, and I move into my house next week. My dogs join me in 2 weeks, and yeah, it's not a huge story. I think I am emotionally burnt out. It feels like all this anger built up and then like a sparkler just ended. I don't even want to think about them anymore. I just want to move on and pretend that chapter of my life never existed. So if you, Sophie, I hope your cake, salt in it instead of sugar, and I hope you spill red wine in your white dress. My husband would choose his girl best friend over me any day. I, 29 female, got married a year ago yesterday. My husband, 30 male, and I have been together for 5 years in total. My husband has been best friends with Sasha, 30 female, since they were in diapers. I knew that, and I never really had a problem with their friendship until my husband and I officially started dating. Sasha would always try and get between us, and every date we went on she was there coincidentally, which was relatively annoying because my husband would let her stay with us on all those dates. Now yesterday was my wedding anniversary and my husband forgot since he had a road trip with Sasha. I didn't know about this road trip until he said he was leaving. I didn't bother telling him it was our anniversary since he didn't remember it and he would probably still spend the day with Sasha even if he did know. I didn't bother telling him bye. I just walked out and decided I was going to go shopping and do something for myself. I did that, but then his mother called me during the day wishing me a happy anniversary and asked where my husband was because he wasn't answering his phone. I told her the truth about his whereabouts and he didn't remember our anniversary. She was shocked and told me that she didn't think Sasha and my husband still had feelings for each other. I asked what did she mean. She said that they did date in high school, but my husband told me that he never did like Sasha romantically. Everything started becoming more clear now. Maybe he did remember our anniversary but chose not to say anything because he loved Sasha. If he loved her, could have told me before we got married. I would have been hurt, but I understand feelings and I know you can't control them. I don't know how to comprehend anything right now. I'm numb and I don't get. I got fairly satisfactory revenge. I'm going to make this as short and sweet as I can. Basically, I, 25 female, went through my boyfriend's, 28, phone. He had cheated on me with an ex and was telling her that he loved her so much and couldn't wait to be the stepfather to her children and he was going to leave me for her. She knew he was with me and didn't care. We have been together for 7 months officially but have been seeing each other for over a year now. We had plans to move in together and I had a lot of things at his house including my cat because I didn't want to leave her home alone all the time when I spend over 75% of my time at his house. So, I decided while he was at work to move all my things home. I took the key to my apartment off of his key ring the night before. After moving everything out and telling him, he proceeded to freak out. He is a narcissist and he would gaslight me and all kinds of things, so he immediately tried to take control of the situation. I did not let him and I think for the first time ever he was not in control and he didn't know how to handle, so he resorted to buying me things and begging for my love. Here it gets a little more complicated. Let's just say we had a really great time in the bedroom and we would like to make explicit content to save for later. We had quite a few, so I agreed to stay with him in the condition that he blocked her, and I decided I was going to sneak in and delete everything off his devices. I did not move my things back in. This all happened 1 week ago and tonight I got everything deleted off of everything and successfully ruined any kind of a relationship he may have had with the other girl. In their last convo she called him a jerk and he told her I treated him the best and loved him and it wasn't worth losing me over. So I am now going to leave this relationship knowing that my content is no longer in his hands and that he most likely will be alone completely as well because she hates him too now. That is my whole story. I just really wanted to share with someone else that may appreciate it with me. Update. So basically, Friday night and Saturday morning he was mad at me and ended up sleeping on the couch and left his phone in the bedroom. I was able to get on there and go through every inch of it and even ended up finding videos other than my own. I deleted it all. I checked, double-checked, and triple-checked many times. Finally he came back to the bedroom, so I got up, got dressed and left. His bike was in the back of my car, so I dropped it off by his back door and left a stuffed animal he had won for me on top of it so he would get the hint. And then I went home and blocked all social media, but not his number mostly, so I could see what he would try to do, not because I wanted to answer him. He called me about 7 times and texted me numerous times. He said he was going to come over even if I called the cops. He loved me. He wanted to be with me. He told me he was crying and could barely see his phone screen and that he had planned on waking up that day and taking me out to look at houses for rent and waking me up to coffee and a good time. He went on and on but never showed up and eventually stopped texting me. I think he knows and understands that I made my choice and I won this battle. Hopefully, he stays away so I can get over this in my own time and heal from it all. I know I'm a lesbian but I will never tell my husband. I, 34 female, come from a typical Southern conservative, Catholic, family. I love them, I really do, even though I don't agree with their beliefs. I would never let them know that, which is why I have never told anyone that I am a lesbian. I have known this about myself since I was 12, but ultimately I decided that my family and friends were more important. So when my male friend, 38 male, asked me out 14 years ago, I said yes and he is now my husband. He is my best friend, truly, but I just am not attracted to him at all. I treat him well and he treats me well. I do everything a good wife does. I have never and will never cheat on him with another woman. Obviously, a big part of me wishes I could be open about who I am, hence why I am making this post, but we have 4 kids, I am a stay-at-home mom with no financial independence, and I need my family. I will play my role as the dutiful wife and mother. I know that some people may say that he deserves to know, and maybe they're right. He is a great guy who deserves to have someone who loves him back, but what he doesn't know will not hurt him. I miss my boyfriend's old body. I, 21 female, recently went to visit my family across the country for 2 months. My boyfriend, 20 male, didn't come with me and stayed behind. We didn't see each other for 2 months other than occasional pictures we sent over text. I came back and was welcomed by my loving boyfriend at the airport. I immediately noticed he lost a lot of weight. According to him, he lost almost 25 pounds, which is absolutely insane to me. He said while I was gone his main focus was spent on working out and eating better. I of course assured him that he looked great, and he genuinely does look great, but I prefer his chubby body. I can't tell anyone since he's so proud of himself and he worked hard to get where he's at. It's also not my place to tell him what to do with his body. When we are cuddling, I miss his soft body and I miss his soft hugs. I feel like I'm hugging a TV remote now. I know I'm an a-hole and this will be downvoted, but I had to let this out somewhere.
My wife went out last night, and didn't come home until this morning. This is horrible. I'm furious right now, but I'm also depressed as heck. I know what I have to do. It's just killing me that I have to do it. It's fresh, and it hurts a lot. My wife didn't come home last night. She went out with a couple of girlfriends, which is pretty normal for her. She's normally back around 2 a.m. on these nights. So I waited up, around 2:30. I called to check in, she answered, and I could hear people in the background. She told me they went to a party but were leaving in a couple of minutes. She wasn't home by 3, so I texted. It delivered, but no reply. Around 4 a.m. I called again. It rang a couple of times before she sent me to voicemail. My wife finally came stumbling through the door at 6:47 a.m. this morning. I know the exact time because I was worried. She was wearing a dress she didn't leave the house in, with mesh leggings I've never seen either. The leggings had clearly been torn, and her makeup was smudged. My heart sank when I saw her. My immediate worry was that she had been hurt. She only shook her head no when I asked her that. I asked her what she had been doing then. She only said that I knew what she had been doing, and that kind of confirmed what the voice in the back of my head had been screaming since she walked in. My wife cheated on me last night. I asked her who it was. She shrugged almost casually and said it was somebody they met at the club. She went back to his house and hooked up with him, then Ubered home. She then said she didn't want to fight and just wanted to sleep, so that's what she did. She's still asleep now, and didn't even take a shower before passing out. Suffice to say our relationship is over. We don't have any kids, and we rent, so it shouldn't be an extremely complicated process. I keep trying to reason myself out of it, pretending there might be something to salvage here. I've always maintained that cheating would be a red line for me though. I think I need to stick to that now.
I will never sleep exposed again. I, 25 female, sleep exposed most of the time. I like to be a free bird. Under the sheets, my privates need to breathe. Today, I learned that you should never sleep exposed. I got up, went to the bathroom, had my morning wee, felt great by the way. I wipe. Something felt strange. I look at the tissue and then there laid a dead spider. I smothered a spider with my lips, in my sleep, and killed it, and that's why I will never be sleeping exposed again. What the F? My husband just big shamed our daughter and I'm beyond livid. This happened earlier. We were sitting eating dinner, then my 13-year-old daughter got up from her seat and made her way to one of the top cabinets to grab a plate. She couldn't reach the cabinet and complained about it. My husband said, "Well, you couldn't reach the cabinet because you're big." My daughter was stunned. I mean, he did make comments about her putting on weight lately but never outright called her that. She said, "What does height has to do with weight?" He said, "The bigger you are the shorter you get. You've put on some serious amount of weight and should really do something about it before it's too late." This set me off. Our daughter rushed out crying and refused to finish her dinner. He was like, "Well, that's a start." Then I told him he caused her to miss dinner. We had a huge fight and he accused me of coddling her rather than actually looking after her the way he does. She's in her room right now and is still crying from what he said. I'm beyond livid. I'm so mad because I don't want her to think that her worth is in her weight or physical appearance. I hate how he basically put her self-esteem down and made her cry. Edit to add, yes, she has put on some weight lately, but it's not a big of a deal as he makes it out to be. She's having issues at school and this isn't helping. Also, her dad isn't fit or athletic. He's just thin.
Tomorrow, my boyfriend is going to ask me to marry him and I'm going to say no. I feel like if I don't tell someone, even strangers, I'll explode. The ache in my heart is only getting worse and I don't know what I can do to change how I feel. If I had one wish right now, it would be to somehow magically change how I feel. A week ago I found the ring. I think it was a week ago. He knew exactly what ring to buy. A girl can't ask for a more beautiful ring. It's been in his family for years. He also got a backup ring. I also know he asked my dad's permission and that my dad gave it to him despite both of us being young, well, youngish. My family has always loved him, so much. I think they'll feel equally awful after tomorrow. I wish I didn't find the ring. Maybe if I didn't have time to think about it I would have said yes. But that's not fair to either of us. I'll miss him. I'll miss his scent, his hugs, his laugh. The way he doesn't make me feel dumb when I tell him I don't know something. He'll just explain it to me, no judgment. I'll miss the chemistry we have, how even after years of being together we still want each other just as much. I won't miss the jealousy, the possessiveness, and the way he feels like he owns me. When we first got together I thought I could live with his flaws. After all, I wasn't perfect too. But when I saw that ring I knew I couldn't. I want to be able to have friends even if they are of the opposite gender. I want to talk to my coworkers without someone feeling jealous or threatened. I want to sometimes have a girls' night. I want a relationship where my partner doesn't act possessive in the name of being protective. I want someone who won't scream at me, asking me to get in the car and leave with him just because a male friend asked me to hang out. I get why he does it, I understand him, I love him, he's insecure and I get that. He wants to protect me but what he doesn't understand is that he's hurting me trying to do this. I can't constantly fight and defend myself, that's not the life I see myself having. I feel like he doesn't trust me even after years of me being nothing but loyal. I feel selfish. I promised him I would never leave him. I promised him I'd stay and love him forever. I promised we'd grow old together, start a family together. He's even trying to be better for me, but it just wouldn't be fair for him to have a wife who, even if only for a few moments, resents him. I hope he wants to continue our relationship even though I'll say no. I want to keep all my promises, just not now with the way that we are. I feel like I'm drowning. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to disappoint everyone I know. I hope I wake up tomorrow and magically change my mind. Update, tomorrow, my boyfriend is going to ask me to marry him and I'm going to say no. I ended up talking to him before he proposed. At first I was so sure that it was better to wait but a few helpful comments made me realize I'd forever ruin the magic and beauty that comes with proposals if I let him actually do it only for me to say no. So I texted him and told him to come back home from work as soon as possible. My brother knew I was telling him about my decision just in case things got messy, not that I think my boyfriend would ever hurt me, but I was just overall very chaotic in my emotions and felt like I'd need someone with me if we broke up. He came home, I cooked dinner and we sat together at the table. He could tell I found the ring. I knew that he knew the moment I looked at his face. I'm not sure how to best describe it in English but there was a certain sadness in the air I couldn't quite understand. Not your typical sadness, I don't know. Anyways, I told him about the ring and he asked me if the answer was yes. I couldn't speak really but he answered it for himself and said, obviously the answer is no otherwise we wouldn't be doing this. He asked me the reason, I explained as much as I could, he listened, I cried, then he cried, then we just held each other. He was not angry at all and now I feel guilty for thinking he'd scream at me or something. I told him I still love him and that I just didn't want to get married now. He said okay, and then that he wanted to be a better person for me before calling me his wife. I asked him if that meant he wanted to try something like therapy and he said yes. He was very hurt though I could tell. It pained me to see someone I love so much go through that but this was the only option. I didn't want to get married while he was still this way. We cried more, went for a walk, and I felt hopeful about our relationship for the first time in a while. I think we forgot that love isn't always enough, as someone pointed out in the comment section. I want to understand him more and I can see that he wants to try and be better with his insecurities and instincts. I know it will be slow, the whole process. I know he won't magically change, but I'm okay with that. I'm booking an appointment soon. We have been having more honest conversations. Especially me by telling him how hurt I was by some of the things he does. It felt good to communicate like that. He opened up to me too about his insecurities and whatnot. Thank you again for validating my feelings. It
me for someone else. He just died. Back in March I, 33 male, found out my wife, 30 female, was having an affair after 15 years of being together. Completely broke my heart. I wanted a divorce originally, but opted to see if we could work on things. Our version of work on things is always to move past things and pretend they never happened. Obviously not healthy, and I wish looking back we did something differently, couples therapy, communicate better, etc. From March to August, things were okay. We pretended like it never happened, and since we never truly dealt with it, you could tell things were off, even though we continued to put a smile on our faces. In August she admitted that she still had feelings for this other guy. August to December, we continued to live together but we were growing apart. She was texting the other guy, though claiming that she was not. She wanted a divorce. I was not ready to want that though. Deep down I knew that there was no way our relationship could ever return to normal. I was holding out for how things were in the past. She was prepared to begin moving on with her life, but also was trying to be there for me as I grieved, which in hindsight probably gave me some false hope. I had finally come to grips with things over the past 2 weeks. A lot of therapy and talking to friends got me to a point where, though I didn't want to lose my best friend, I understood it had to be over for everyone's sake. My wife was planning on moving forward with the guy she had the affair with. He lived out of state, but he eventually intended to move here so that they could be together. I knew it would be a tough transition for me, but I was slowly ready to do it, and began working on bettering myself for my future, job promotion, therapy, lost 25 pounds quitting alcohol and getting a gym membership, etc. The other day, I found out he unexpectedly passed away. I had always hoped that they would not remain together, out of pure selfish spite, but now seeing how broken my soon-to-be ex-wife is, I am completely devastated for her. I'm devastated that my marriage is over, but also devastated that her whole life is forever changed. I'm devastated that a person lost their life at a young age, regardless that he had a hand in my marriage ending. No one deserves that to happen, and as much as I wanted to hate this guy, he did seem like a good person otherwise, as crazy as that sounds. I can't even come to grips that this has happened to me, to her, to this guy. It feels like no one is winning or coming out better in the end here. It seems like nothing but sadness for everyone involved. I've tried talking to friends and my therapist, but I can't make sense of any of this anymore. People have told me I should cut off my ex and let her grieve, but she's been my closest friend for a decade and a half, regardless of our marriage ending. I can't imagine not being there for her. I was finally getting to a place where I could see some sort of light at the end of the tunnel of my marriage being over, but now I just see a long road of everyone grieving for so many reasons, and everyone being changed forever, probably in a negative way, because of this.
I installed a camera in the house and caught my husband doing this. My husband has been diagnosed with cancer. He is stopping treatment because he's too weak to continue, and it was his wish to spend more time with family. He doesn't have a big family, just me, his mom and stepdad. It's been hard on all of us, but we respect his wishes and whatever makes it easier for him. Due to safety reasons, I decided to install cameras in the house to be able to check in on him while I'm away, at work or running errands. He refused to have someone come over and provide care, and I respected his wish. So, I checked the bedroom's camera, and for the past few days I caught him walking over to the closet, pulling out the teddy bear his deceased dad got him, then lying down on the floor. There's a rug in there. While holding the bear tight, I saw that he did this several times throughout the week while I was at work. He'd lay there, cry some, talk to his bear some, then eventually falls asleep. I didn't know what to feel about what I saw, but my tears automatically came out, and I've never felt this helpless before. Seeing him in that state and not being able to help is just, it feels so wrong. I never brought it up to him, nor I will anytime soon. I wanted him to be able to have this space and do whatever makes him feel comforted. I'm sorry, I just realized I didn't mention his age. He's 36 years old. His dad passed away when he, my husband, was 12. They were very close. They had this bond that we don't see in every family, at least not in my family, and there is not a day that goes by that my husband doesn't mention his dad. When we first got the test results, he cried out for him. It was one of the most emotional days of our lives. Edit to add, he doesn't usually brings up the teddy bear nor touch it when I'm around. I don't know why, but part of me thinks it's because of our infertility issues that we've been suffering with for 12 years. He always said that the teddy bear would be given to our kids when we have them, but it just never happened. So you could say that this teddy bear carries a lot of emotional weight, and it means so much to him.
I've fallen in love with the husband of the women my husband is cheating on me with. I'm female 36, and my husband is male 38. We have been together for 10 years. We have one daughter who's female 6. She's everything to me. I found out a year ago that my husband is sleeping with his employee, female 30. How? Her husband, let's call him Jay, male 35, contacted me. He was heartbroken and he thought that I ought to know. He provided me with text messages and dated when they've been in hotels. I recognized my husband's style and I recognized the other woman. I have seen her on multiple occasions when I visited my husband at work. She'd been nothing but kind and pleasant towards me, and she always doted on my daughter. I asked Jay what he wanted to do and he said that he wasn't sure yet, so I requested that we should meet. He agreed. I told him about my life and that I'm currently not working after the pandemic. I lost my job. And now the economy, I haven't really had any opportunity to find a job. Instead, I've been studying these past 2 years. If I divorce now, I won't be able to provide for my daughter. That would probably put her in my husband's custody as a primary provider. I asked him if he could wait for a few months, hopefully longer therefore, and to my surprise he agreed. I thanked him profusely, but he told me that he didn't know what to do either, so he's happy to wait. Also, the other woman has 3 children from a previous relationship and he was worried that she would refuse him being in their lives once he confronted her because he's not the father. We kept in touch however, he called me a few times a week and soon we started to talk about other things other than our failed marriages. Afterwards we started going for walks, coffee, movies etc. I found myself thinking about him often with a smile on my face. He was the first thing I thought of in the morning and the last thing I thought of before going to bed. For the last 3 to 4 months we probably mentioned our spouses once or twice. We talk about everything else and he always makes me laugh. He thinks I'm funny too. 2 weeks ago we were having a picnic and he just blurted out, "I think that I'm in love with you." When he then explained himself it just drove the point home that I also am in love with him. He said that at first he wasn't sure why he was feeling like this towards me and explained it away as 2 jilted people finding comfort in each other, but that he then realized that he wasn't broken anymore. That he even thinks of his wife's infidelity as a blessing because it led him to me. That was exactly how I felt too. I didn't know what to say. I told him that I'm terrified that these are false feelings that would go away once we've freed ourselves from those who hurt us. He just beamed at me and said he was willing to take the risk just to find out. He kissed my hand because I thought we were still married and if we did something then how are we better than our significant others? I don't know what to do now. I find myself daydreaming about him, about introducing him to my daughter, kissing him, waking up next to him every morning. I still have 1 semester left and then I'm probably going to find a job. I've already had some offers for when I'm finished with my studies. I have thanked Jay so many times for being so patient with me about everything. I appreciate that he's waiting for me to put my life in order before we expose our spouses who aren't really seeing each other as often as they used to. He told me he's happy to help and he just wants a real kiss as a thank you when everything is over. My goal now is to secure my job and leave this marriage. Am I pathetic for wanting to give Jay and I a shot and see where it would go? Can 2 broken hearts really find happiness together when they're